We tend to suffer from a illusion of permanence. And by that I mean we think that things are going to last forever. We think our lives are going to last forever. In an abstract way, we know that we will not live forever. And yet, as we contemplate the end of our life, we tend to think that it's a long way off. We think that our job is permanent and our relationships are permanent and status that we achieve along the way is permanent. Like a building that we're building, and whatever progress we gain, we will keep. And as a result of this, we feel extremely gratified when we get what we want because it feels like a permanent gain. And we feel extremely indignant when we lose those things because we feel like something which should never have been possible to lose has been robbed from us. And if we were to shift gears just a little bit and think about the way we would look at life if we knew that we weren't going to live very long at all, the outcome of that train of thought is that we wouldn't hang on to anything emotionally as deeply as we are inclined to. Generally, we might care about the things that we do because we would want to be good stewards and leave something behind for the people who will be there after we're gone. But we certainly would be more inclined to value experiences than things. And if you think about it, people are usually poor and destitute because they value things more than they value experiences. They'd rather look good to their friends or have some kind of bragging rights or have that outward appearance of achievement than to just not draw attention to themselves and live a quiet life. We are ultimately very temporary. And it's not to say that we don't have any time at all, and it certainly shouldn't be interpreted as a fatalism that makes us think, well, life is so short and it's so inconsequential that we don't really have time to enjoy our lives or to just live for the sake of living because every minute needs to be prioritized and spent in a really important way because we just have this tiny amount of time, and if we don't rush, then our life won't be complete. I don't believe that we should think like that at all. But I do think that we should look at life and have an attitude that is tempered by the knowledge that mortality is going to set the scale back to zero when we're done. So it really doesn't matter if you achieve a lot or a little at the end. It's not a big deal if on any given day things go your way or they don't. You should be really quick to forgive people for things because there's not really any reason to have that deep-seated sense of a grudge ever when you know that all of it really is pretty temporary anyway. It's not like I'm going to be here in 2,000 years to remember that you said something to me on a Friday that I didn't like. Like, it just doesn't really matter. The stuff that we get indignant about and the stuff that we freak out about and the things that make us worried and anxious usually are things that only matter if we've elevated ourselves to the level of gods and we think that we're the inheritors of some sort of eternal life or something, and we imagine that what happens today is going to in some way do us injustice for eons to come. If I said you're gonna die tomorrow, what would you do? I mean, assuming you weren't in some sort of a state of shock and totally panicked by the thought of dying, and you just know you don't have very much time, then what do? You're probably gonna, I would think, you're gonna treat people reasonably, kindly. You're going to want to spend time with the people who you value, that make you feel respected and safe. You would just kind of drop all of the more abstract goals and you would just try to be a decent person, and you try to surround yourself with decent people. So if that's what you'd probably do if you knew that you had very little time left to live, then assuming that maybe you do have longer, why not do that now? Why not just enjoy life without expecting that it's going to have to be something more specifically down the road? Don't necessarily live with that thought of everything has to go according to plan so that I end up where I want to be in 30 years. Just be thankful for the life you have today. Surround yourself with good thoughts and surround yourself with good people and forgive quickly and don't do or say things that are harmful. And this sort of stuff is not rocket science. It's just we get so distracted by things that don't matter that we put the things that matter most on the back burner because we think, I need to chase my career and I need to achieve my personal goals and I need to get all this stuff done. And I need to prove, prove that I've made the perfect decision, I guess. Because, my life is so important. God forbid I make a decision that's not ideal and wind up doing myself an injustice because I could have done better or something. Well, I'm reminded of the verse in the Bible that says that you should not lay up treasure for yourself on earth, but instead lay treasure up for yourself in heaven, where moth and dust does not corrupt. And there's a parable in the Bible where it says this man who was wealthy had said, I'm going to tear down my barns and I'm going to build bigger barns. And the Lord said to him, you're a fool, because tonight your life is going to be required of you. And the truth is that life is kind of like a day. When you're young, it's like the morning. And then you get older, and then that's like the evening. And you will die. And that's one day. So, are you trying to build bigger barns for a harvest that isn't even yours? Are you obsessed with that to the point that you forget that your life will be required of you at the end of the day? You can be really filled with self-centeredness and ego and stuff like that, and that can distract you from the concept of mortality, so you don't think about it, certainly. But then if you get to the end of your life and you've spent your whole life being in denial of your own mortality, trying to distract yourself from the fact that you're a temporary being by investing in things that have the promise of making you feel like you're more permanent than you are, that's disappointment, because it's a realization later that everything you've done for no reason at all. Because really the only things that are going to be something that matters, that makes you feel like your life was a really good thing when you're about to die, is knowing that you saw good in the world and that you were a mirror of that to reflect good into other people's lives too. And also to know that life is good, whether it goes your way or not. Because as much as we think we would like to live forever or always get our way, the truth is you can't have one person win the lottery unless a lot of people lose the lottery. You can't have young people that are new and fresh exploring the world if you don't have people who are old, who are on their way out when other people are starting their journey. You can't have wisdom without the opposite of wisdom, the immaturity. You can't have the things you want without also the things you don't. And you can't really believe that the world is a good place if you only believe that it's good when it lines up with what your objectives are. You have to understand that everything happens for a reason. The universe has a plan. There is an order and a meaning to our lives, and it doesn't have to be just the way we thought it was going to be or the way we want it to be all the time in order for it to still be good and right. But all things considered, mostly what I'm getting at is just that you should always think of yourself as being temporary, and then ask yourself, what do I want to do and what kind of a person do I want to be if I am not going to be around forever. And that'll help you to make better decisions, especially decisions that pertain to the sort of attitude that you have toward other people and toward the world in general. Thank you very much.